The following video and continued growth of this channel are made possible by your support over on patreon.com/616entertainment. Sign up today at any level you choose and help bring these brand new projects to life. Or if you're looking for a brand new t-shirt, maybe stop by prowrestlingtees.com/616entertainment. I got you covered. In the long and storied history of video games based on professional wrestling, we've got a little bit of everything spread across the all-time tier list. Titles like 2003's WWE SmackDown Here Comes the Pain on the PlayStation 2, or 2000's WWF No Mercy on the Nintendo 64 can be slotted anywhere around the very top. I mean, that's where you'd put them if you had a brain in your head. Games like TNA Impact or Saturday Night Slam Masters are a little more niche, but are nowhere near the bottom of the barrel. That's a zone that plays host to offerings like Simpsons Wrestling and... Jesus, Simpsons Wrestling might be the worst of the worst. I've done retrospectives on literally every game I just mentioned. The links are in the description, but we are not here today to retread old ground. Today, for the first time ever, Triangle X Squared Circle crosses the line into Microsoft territory, with the very first wrestling game ever released on the Xbox, WWF RAW. Does this 2002 title find itself near the top with the No Mercies of the world? Does it land somewhere in the middle? Or will it fall flat on its face on the way to the ring with Simpsons Wrestling? There's only one way to find out. Oh, what's up, Dan-Dans? My name is Ian. Welcome to another episode of Triangle X Squared Circle, the wrestling game retrospective series. If you're not already signed up over on patreon.com/616entertainment, please consider doing so. You can help keep 616 Entertainment alive. You can help 616 Entertainment grow if you so desire. Now, I don't take any sponsors or anything like that. What you just heard is going to be my one and only commercial for my content. So, thank you for hearing me out, and I feel like now is a pretty good time to jump into the topic at hand here today. Let's get to it. I'll keep this part short for the sake of the audience that watches every episode. I've been a PlayStation guy since the PS1 days. I've never owned an Xbox console in my life. As a matter of fact, the Xbox that I've used to capture all of this gameplay was lent to me by longtime Dan Kiko Olvera, which I greatly appreciate. Thanks, Kiko. I'm not anti-Xbox by any means. I'm not a console wars guy. In fact, I find the whole console wars thing to be childish and unbearably annoying. Play whatever you want. It just so happens that Xbox doesn't have anything that I really want to play. So don't get it twisted. I'm not burying Halo or Gears of War or anything. That's just not my scene. Now, 2002 is the year at hand here today. A great year for wrestling, a great year for video games, and maybe it was a great year for wrestling games. Let's take a look at the particulars. Over on the GameCube, there was WWE WrestleMania X8, a game with one of the best iterations of Hell in a Cell to this day. PlayStation 2 owners were all over WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, a title that many would put at the top of the tier list. There was Fire Pro Wrestling 2 and Road to WrestleMania X8 on the Game Boy Advance, Legends of Wrestling 2 on almost everything. I'll stop there. There was a little something for everybody, and that's before we set our eyes on WWF RAW for the Xbox. I always say everybody deserves a great game in their favorite genre, regardless of which console you happen to own. I love that MLB The Show is no longer PlayStation exclusive. Switch owners, Xbox owners, PC owners, there's no consumer-friendly reason that they shouldn't have a great baseball game to play. And now, they do. Gamers who jumped on board with Xbox in 2001, hey, maybe they got an Xbox in place of a PlayStation 2. Maybe they bought an Xbox rather than buying a GameCube. Listen, I know in my house, we were a one-console household. We didn't have the money for multiple consoles. So Xbox players who were wrestling fans were looking for either an equivalent to or the killer of the SmackDown titles. They were looking for a game that would stand up to WrestleMania X8. Was WWF RAW that game? Let's first focus on some of the standout positives of WWF RAW. Look at these camera angles, man. There's camera work at play here that hasn't been seen in any wrestling game before or after Raw's release. It's very clear that a true-to-television look and feel is what the team were going for. And just from these entrances, I don't think anyone can say that they didn't nail it. When I say the team, or they in this regard, I'm talking about the game's developer, Anchor Inc. Quick pit stop from gameplay features for a second, just to add some background. Anchor Inc. did not last long in the game development space, but if you've played the original UFC title on the Sega Dreamcast, Pride FC on the PlayStation 2, or maybe even Toy Fighter in arcades, you've got some experience with their work. Now back to Raw. On top of the camera work, the overall look of the arena at large is still extremely impressive. Some may call this game blurry looking or hazy, but dude, that's what it looked like in a WWF arena 20 years ago. There was so much pyro back then that this murky, almost casino-like look of the smoke hanging in the air, that's accurate. This is also the only game I've ever seen where the area off the stage and to the sides of the ramp looks functional, as if people actually work here. It's not just a tall wall coming up off the cement floor. There are staircases on either side of the stage, and yes, you can walk up them. The equipment trunks that we saw in backstage segments every week on television are here in the game, and guess what? We can break them open like treasure chests, as each trunk contains a weapon. Have you ever seen a spiked dog collar as a weapon? Well, you have now. Steel chairs come in red, gold, blue, the announce desk is breakable, and on the topic of furniture, how about the two types of tables, black and brown? Now, is there a difference? Yeah, one's black, one's brown, duh. More on tables later. Several WWE games have included Undertaker's motorcycle entrance, but how many of them also had Taker leaving on the bike after a victory? How many games included Raven's shopping cart full of weapons as a part of his entrance? How many times have you seen Big Show duck in order to fit his tall-ass head under the Titantron? These are tiny, tiny details, but they make a difference. Now, if you're watching this video and you're wondering why I'm spending so much time on these tiny details, it's because that's kind of all WWF RAW has going for it. Look, this gameplay is not going to set the world on fire. These match types and gimmicks are... I mean, let's just take a look. It is no exaggeration when I say this. It feels like each wrestler has about 4 moves in their arsenal. Now, that's not entirely factual. There are more than 4 because the moves change depending on whether you grappled a ready or groggy opponent, but still, it's shallow. Very shallow. The overall physics just feel off. It's like we're wrestling on the moon. I put over the television-style presentation of the entrances, and to be fair, we do have picture-in-picture replays during matches, which is another first-time ever feature, but the cameras during the matches are ridiculous. Why are we so tight on the action? Sometimes you can't even tell we're in a wrestling ring. Between the ropes being cut out of the shot and the gray canvas under our feet, we may as well be fighting on a slab of cement. Viewers with keen eyes may notice that every clip I've shown you so far has taken place in the Monday Night Raw arena. Now, if you know me and you watch my videos, you've recognized that I explore every arena there is to give the video as much visual variety as possible. Well, I'm doing the same thing here. I'm giving you all the variety there is. The Raw arena is the only arena in the game. No SmackDown, no pay-per-views, not even Sunday Night Heat, which is just the Raw arena with orange logos. Zero, I mean zero effort went into lending any sort of variety to the settings, which is incredible. I used the word shallow when it came to the grappling mechanics, but man, arena-wise, this game's a puddle of piss. I guess I have to acknowledge that if you play a King of the Ring tournament, they did throw logos on the Tron and the ropes are black, but God almighty, is that the best they could do? Especially since King of the Ring in this era had such a cool stage! Alright, let's change gears. When it comes to match types, it's 2002, you know? Obviously, we've got one-on-one, hardcore, tag team, triple threat, fatal four-way, the staples. How about table matches? Nope. We've got tables in the game, but no table match. Weird. Ladder match? Nope. We've got ladders in the game, but no ladder match. Weird. Steel cage? Nope. Hell in a Cell? Nope. Iron Man? Nope. Casket? Nope. Special referee? Nope. Royal Rumble? Nope. I Quit? Yep. I don't mean I Quit as in there's an I Quit match in this game, because there's not. I mean, of course there's not. I mean, I quit listing off these match types because there are 0 gimmick matches in WWF RAW. 0. That is unbelievable to me. We had steel cage matches in 1992 on the NES, for God's sake. But let's not dwell on it. Let's take a look at the season mode. I'll show that to you now. There is no fucking season mode. Jesus Christ, what is there to do in this game? No gimmick matches, no season mode. Look, my co-host over on GM Showdown, No Taxes Nigel Bravo. Nigel and I, every once in a while, would complain to each other that Fire Pro Wrestling World doesn't have enough gimmick matches. I mean, there's Steel Cage, Barbed Wire Deathmatch, Landmine Massacre, you got Royal Rumbles, you got MMA rules, you got kickboxing rules, there's a couple. We would complain that that wasn't enough. We wish there were more gimmick matches, more variety in the game. Good God, comparing Fire Pro Wrestling World to WWF RAW, Fire Pro is more than you could ever ask for. Let's look at some of the weirder aspects of WWF RAW. Why are the controls on the character select screen inverted? Pressing down on the D-pad moves the selection tool up. Why? Am I picking a wrestler or entering the code on a combination lock? We may not have any gimmick matches, but at least there's title match on the main menu. Want to simply win or defend a championship in exhibition? Well, that's not what this is. This isn't a title match at all. It's a gauntlet, an arcade ladder of sorts, which ends in a title match. Why is Intercontinental split into 2 words? I've never seen that before. Finishing title match unlocks that belt for Create a Wrestler mode, and you can wear the belts to the ring or use them as weapons, but is that what anybody wants? No. But at least finishing a title match gauntlet gives us this. Man, I'm so proud to be the champ title holder. Graphically, the game is nice. Jeff Hardy looks fantastic, as do The Rock and Stone Cold, amongst others. But what the fuck happened to Triple H? Who is this? That's not Triple H. That's not even Double H. At best, we are looking at Single H here. Oh my god. Let me get back to the tables. I said I would earlier. Let me talk about them now. I love tables. Here, enjoy a few table bumps. WWF RAW gives us tables to work with, which is great, but unfortunately they kinda suck. In every other wrestling game with tables, you Irish whip an opponent onto a table. They lay across it, you jump from the top rope and smash them through. In WWF RAW, you whip an opponent at a table and it breaks. It's a total crapshoot whether it's actually gonna break or not. I do like that the pieces of the table don't disappear though, and we can use the broken pieces as individual weapons. Alright, RAW gets points for that. And if you find a hat inside a weapon box, you can put it on your head. That's extra points too. And alright, we can attack opponents while they're in the middle of their entrance, which is another little something that had never been done before. 3 bonus points. Do you see what I mean with little details being the highlights of WWF RAW? The gameplay is lame, the pitiful lack of variety when it comes to match types and arenas is unbelievable. It's all about the details, man. But there is one area, there's one major positive where WWF RAW excels in a way that no wrestling game had prior. Create a Wrestler had existed for years at this point, and RAW's isn't too bad. Certainly not the worst I've ever seen. In the templates I found a guy that kinda looks like Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. And this guy looks like Dante from Devil May Cry for some reason. I noticed in the manual that whoever was writing this thing was not impressed with our creation. What is your jobber's full name? Jobber? Seriously? What a dick. Anyway, CAW is not what I'm talking about in regards to being awesome. I'm talking about create an entrance. Dandans, the amount of control at our fingertips here is insane. Adjusting the individual color of every column of light inside the ramp allowed me to create a pulsing rainbow road looking walkway. Want to add fog? Do it. Adjust the color. Need pyro? What kind of pyro? No one had ever seen this level of customization when it came to entrances, and I'm still impressed by this today. Hey, this is a major last-second addition, as you can tell from the audio quality, but I want to put over WWF RAW real quick for, highlighting a number of guys that were never featured in WWE games prior. As you're seeing on screen, here's K-Quick. This was the first and maybe only appearance of Haku that I can remember. And hey, Just Incredible didn't pop up too many times. The roster, while not the best, still some bright spots. Had to shine a light on it. I owned WWF RAW on PC. It was one of the very, very few PC games that I ever owned. And I only had it because I found it at Kmart for like $7, by the way. So I brought WWF RAW home. I tried to play it on my old shitty PC with my old shitty keyboard, and it was unplayable. I tried, man. I really tried to have fun with it, as you do at that age, and it just couldn't be done. The game is barely responsive on a controller. It almost feels like it's unfinished. Now imagine trying to play it on a keyboard. Terrible. You know what's interesting is WWF RAW was the last WWF or WWE game to get a PC release all the way until WWE 2K15. Wow, that's a huge gap. And I also find it interesting that this was the last game released under the WWF banner. What a way to go out. And at the same time, what a way to come in, right? This was the first wrestling game ever released on the Xbox, and it's not very good at all. WWF RAW isn't the worst wrestling game I've ever played, but it's really not even worth playing at all. And you would think that with The Rock being the person who revealed the Xbox, that developer Anchor Inc. or at least publisher THQ would have taken the time to make sure that this game was awesome. This is like if Michael Myers revealed a brand new line of cameras, and the first movie they made with those cameras was Halloween 5. Alright, it's not that bad. Nothing deserves to be put in the same category as Halloween 5. In my research for this retrospective, I learned that WWF RAW's Chief Development Officer, Masahiro Onoguchi, explained to IGN why there were so few match types and gimmicks in the game. And by that I mean practically zero. He stated that WWF RAW was supposed to be a launch title for the Xbox, but, and I quote, "The game was supposed to be a launch title, but we didn't have all of the information about the Xbox's capabilities, so we weren't able to use all of the features of the hardware for this game like we wanted to, but we'll definitely be ready for the next version of the game." Or, to put it more bluntly, they wanted to make a launch game, but they were not considered important enough to get dev kits early enough to get to work, nor did they have any idea what to do with those tools once they had them in hand. Onoguchi went further. Rather than putting lots and lots of mediocre modes in the game, we wanted fewer well-done game modes. This excuse holds no water because the few modes they did include are mediocre. Mediocre at best. WWF RAW on the Xbox doesn't lay the SmackDown. It's not worthy of a WrestleMania main event, and at the end of the day, Xbox owners deserved better. 1 year later, in September of 2003, Anchor Inc. would try again with WWE RAW 2. Was this the game Xbox owners had been hoping for? Well, there's only one way to find out. Next time. On the last episode of Triangle X Squared Circle, we dove deep into WWF RAW, the first wrestling game ever released on the Xbox. With a brand new next-generation console came a brand new set of promises. At the end of the day, many of those promises were broken. The game initially advertised blood, a story mode, and more features that were just not there upon Raw's release. The gameplay was limited and clunky. There were 0 gimmick matches to choose from and literally 1 arena to wrestle in. For a first outing on a shiny, new, highly powerful machine, it's fair to say that WWF RAW missed the mark by a wide margin. The game's chief development officer, Masahiro Onoguchi, hit the press quickly, making excuses for why the game fell so short of expectations, promising that the sequel would deliver the goods. What does that do for those who paid $50 for Raw? Absolutely nothing. But another $50 1 year later for WWE RAW 2? That's the move. This is the game Xbox players always wanted, right? I mean, that's what was promised. Tell me where you heard that one before. With this episode, we can really get right into the action. I talked all about the game's developer, Anchor Inc., on the last episode. I stacked up the GameCube and PlayStation 2 offerings against their Xbox counterpart, and not much has changed in that department. I mean, now we've crossed over into WrestleMania 19 and SmackDown Here Comes the Pain territory, so if anything, the pressure has gotten even more intense for Raw 2. Let's pause on this title for a second. For years, I've seen people online calling this game WWE RAW 2 Ruthless Aggression. I still see people using this title sometimes. Why? Where did this come from? Go back to the earliest trailer, look at the box art, look at the main menu. Where is the subtitle coming from? Raw 2 Ruthless Aggression? I don't think so. That's a great place to start though, that initial trailer. I remember downloading this trailer with my horrible dial-up connection. It probably took 45 minutes, and I was absolutely taken by what I was seeing. I didn't even own an Xbox. There's no way I could play this game, but I didn't care. 3D through a table? I'm in. Jeff Hardy doing an extremely realistic swanton bomb off the top of a ladder, seeing the ladder actually tip a little bit after he jumped, I was blown away. I was a PS2 kid. I was eating well with Shut Your Mouth and Here Comes the Pain, but as a wrestling fan and avid gamer, there was never enough. Seeing Hogan, Hall, and Nash in their NWO gear, getting a look at the SmackDown arena for the first time here on the Xbox, it looked like Anchor Inc. really stuck to their word regarding the variety missing from the first game. Later trailers showed off Hell in a Cell. They showed ladder matches. Is that an updated arm-painted Jeff Hardy model I see? Holy hell, I remember thinking this looks good. If you had an Xbox in 2003, you were pumped. There's no way around it. But hype doesn't always pay off. Now before we dive deep into the gameplay and features, let's get this out of the way at the top. Everything that I was excited about from that initial reveal trailer is not in the game. The NWO of Hogan, Hall, and Nash, you can't pair them up. Scott Hall was removed from the game before release. That amazing Jeff Hardy model with the arm paint and the face paint, not in the game. Jeff Hardy was cut from WWE RAW 2. The black and blue SmackDown arena, cut from the game. The swanton from the very top of the ladder, and then the ladder tips when you jump from the edge. Not possible in the game. The 3D through the table, I've never seen it pulled off. It's almost like Anchor Inc. made a ton of promises pre-release, and those promises seem to be broken. Are we in for a repeat offender here? The short answer is yes and no. To get into detail requires the long answer. Luckily, this is an in-depth retrospective, and the longer answers are kind of what I specialize in. First, as usual, I'd like to start off with some positives. One of the worst offenses of the original Raw was the dearth of special match types. Raw 2 delivers the goods, and it delivers them well. Hell in a Cell? Yes. Ladder match? Yes. Table match? Yes. Cage match? Yes. Royal Rumble? Yes. Buried Alive? Nope. Hey, but that's alright. This is major progress either way. Let's go in depth. Hell in a Cell used to be the coolest match out there, man. It still was at the time Raw 2 came out, and Raw 2 does the cell justice. The structure is gigantic, first of all, which is insane. Can we break through the roof and crash into the ring? Absolutely. I love that the broken panel hangs down into the ring as well. You don't see this very often for some reason. Can we toss jabronis off the side of the cell and through the announce table? Yes, sir. Now, did I know the referee was going to end the match off that bump? No, I didn't. I don't know why he did that. That's very annoying. But hey, what a bump, right? Turning our attention to the cell's little brother, the steel cage, this match, it sucks. There it is, Dan-Dans, the wheels fell off already. Here's a full cage match. That's it. How about a ladder match? This game sucks, guys. It does. This game kinda sucks. Is it better than the original Raw? Yes. But that's not saying much. You know, there were those of you in the comments of the last episode on WWF RAW that said, you know, this game isn't great, but Raw 2 is amazing. Raw 2 holds up just as well as SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. This game is nowhere near the same conversation as SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. Raw 2 is nowhere near the conversation of WrestleMania 19. Now, some of you may be very upset that that's my opinion on Raw 2, and that's okay. I have footage to back up literally everything I'm saying. I'm not making any of this up. What you're looking at now is gameplay footage of SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. I'm playing as Matt Hardy. The game is tight, it's snappy. The AI is smart, it's aggressive but cunning. They catch me sleeping every once in a while. Now let's look at some untouched gameplay from Raw 2. Now that was a simulation. That was two AI going to war against each other. Maybe that's a recipe for disaster, even though there's really no excuse for that. Let's chalk that up as a loss and look at me going one-on-one with the AI. Ric Flair won't come near me. I don't know what it is, but he will literally stand still until I walk directly into his line of sight. Only then will he sprint forward. This happened multiple times in this match alone. And speaking of sprinting, nearly every match you play will begin with the AI running directly at you with no plan whatsoever. The ladder match I played against Devon Dudley, he took one step on the ladder and then simply stopped moving. I tried to convince him to go higher. I tried to remind him we were having a match, but he wasn't interested. I eventually won this match because the AI couldn't figure out how to stop me and just walked into the ladder in an endless loop while his head attempted to separate itself from his shoulders. This game sucks. I don't want it to suck, and there are some really cool pieces to this puzzle, and I will shine a light on those pieces, but you gotta deal with the elephant in the room before you get there. You know, we're already in the negative portion of this video, so let's just knock these out. It was a major bummer that the original game didn't have a season mode. Well, here in the sequel, we've got a season mode, and it's terrible. I mean, who could forget memorable storylines like... There are no storylines. None. Nothing happens. We get to see the champion show up to the arena in a limo. That's pretty cool the first time. But this happens on literally every episode of every show. It gets old very, very quickly. It also drives me nuts that all the belts have an extra plate on them, but that's a major nitpick, so you can throw that out if you want. This season mode is advertised as 1 year long. That's 12 months of the WWE calendar, but it's not, really. In real life, there are 4 Raws and 4 SmackDowns, then a pay-per-view. Now, most games shorten this to 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns before a pay-per-view. This game has 1 episode of Raw, 1 episode of SmackDown, and then a pay-per-view. A month's worth of season mode is 3 matches long. So there are no storylines in season mode. Got it. What is there? Well, we can steal from another wrestler's bags? We can set Viva La Bam traps that may or may not work. There are things like this. Alright, match announcement for what? What match was announced? GM request card. What the hell is a GM request card? This season mode is terrible, guys. Clearly, there are no voiceovers in season mode, and there's also no commentary during matches. None. At all. There are ring announcers, though. We've got Howard Finkel,
weighing 275 pounds, The Rock,
and some woman. Who is this?
And introducing the opponent from Yonkers, New York, weighing in at 334 pounds, Tommy Dreamer.
This isn't Lillian Garcia, that's for damn sure.
Weighing in at 243 pounds, John Cena.
Did she say John Cena?
John Cena.
Who is John Cena?
You have a big mouth, John Cena.
Listen to the referees.
1, 2, 3, pinfall. 1, 2, 3, pinfall.
This has gotta be some sort of joke, right? But that's not even the craziest one. Check out the Royal Rumble.
Eliminated.
What is happening? What is going on here? Does this game take place in the same reality as the one that we live in, or is this some strange multiverse sort of situation? Let's switch gears. I started out putting over the Hell in a Cell match, and things went off the rails pretty quickly, but the Hell in a Cell match is cool. Let's look at some cool features. Let's look at some wacky weirdness. We'll get away from the negative for a few minutes. Many comments came through on the WWF RAW episode asking why I did not dive into the custom soundtracks feature of that game. And that's easy to answer. The short version is there are no custom soundtracks in WWF RAW. That feature debuted right here in RAW 2. The first experience I had with this game came at a friend's house back in the fall of 2003. Scott Spice was his name. He and his brother Ray had an Xbox. They had a copy of RAW 2. A bunch of us threw these ragtag, quick, created wrestlers together, and we had a ladder match. Let's talk about create a wrestler first, ladder match story after. RAW 2's CAW mode allows us to edit pre-existing members of the roster, which is big time. Who doesn't love changing colors and creating wild hybrid outfits? Working from the ground up is fun as well. Create an entrance is even better and deeper than it was in the original. And yeah man, custom entrance songs were a game changer. Pop your favorite CD into your Xbox, rip the track you want, and set it for your character's walk.
from the thrilling state of Illinois, the Big Butt Beater.
Come on, dude. So after we all created our custom hooligans, we threw them into a gigantic ladder match. Now there are two details I want to share here. The first being that this is the only wrestling game ever made to include the 20-foot ladder, the big one, you know? Check it out. The standard ladder looks like a step stool next to the big boy. Side note, it took me hours to find the 20-foot ladder. You don't start with these. They're randomly generated by grabbing weapons from under the ring. It took so long to find this thing that I started to wonder if my memories of seeing it were a dream or some sort of false memory. But no, I found it. Thank you, Lita. The second part of this story comes into play with the finish. I climbed a ladder and jumped up onto the line holding the belt above the ring. My buddy Scott climbed the ladder. He jumped, and then he was hanging. And that was it. We couldn't figure out what to do. We tapped buttons, nothing. We pressed each button individually, nothing. Eventually, we put the controllers down, we all went outside, we grabbed our bikes, and we rode all around the neighborhood. 2 hours go by. We're out being hoodlums. Eventually, we come back to Scott's house. We went into the room where our characters were still hanging from the belt. This is a true story. I'm not kidding. Also, I got in trouble that night for calling home to let my parents know that I was on my way back. It was dark out. I figured that they would like to know that I was on my way. So I pick up Scott's phone, back when the phone was on the wall and had a cord attached to it. And I called home and I said, hey, I'll be there soon. And I got screamed at. My parents didn't know where I was all night. Now, that's not my fault. I did what I always did. Everyone was out in the street in front of my house. I shouted, hey, going to Scott's, I'll be back later. They didn't hear me. So we go to Scott's house. I call home, say, hey, I'll be there soon. And I get in trouble? I get grounded? It was garbage then. It's garbage now. And I'm still not happy about it. Anyway, why does Rey Mysterio look so bad in this game? What is this? Look at him in the pre-release trailer. What happened? You know what's cool? We can choose a referee. And they're the real WWE referees of the time. Earl Hebner, Tim White, Mike Chioda, Nick Patrick, so on and so forth. This didn't last long.
Like, you're tied down at WWE. You couldn't get royalties off of video games because they wouldn't let us in the video games.
Yeah.
They let me in for a little while, and then once I was talking about, okay, where's my royalties? They took me right out of the game.
Nowadays, their faces are censored out of the game, so WWE doesn't have to pay them royalties, which is classy. I find it funny that a Money in the Bank ladder match is technically possible here, years before the 6-man ladder match made its debut at WrestleMania 21. That's points for creativity in the matchmaking. I mean, seriously, we went from 0 gimmick matches to being able to throw together an Armageddon Hell in a Cell. Are you nuts? That's worth celebrating. How about another one? Check it out. More arenas. We got the big old SmackDown fist, the gigantic King of the Ring electric chair throne thing, the backlash swinging hooks, Judgment Day's weird stage, whatever the hell is going on here. That's more major improvement over its predecessor. Breaking the Hell in a Cell door open isn't a triggered, canned animation. Sometimes it seems to open up by itself. You can only climb to the top if you're standing right next to the door, though. What, you thought you could climb literally anywhere in this gigantic structure? What, are you crazy? It drives me nuts that we see champions arrive to the arena with their belts over their shoulder, but they don't come to the ring with them. I guess they leave the belt backstage for safekeeping. I don't know. I remember ages ago reading IGN's review of the game where they mentioned that doing moves off the top of a ladder is one of the most fun parts of the entire package. Good luck with that. The AI is too stupid. You'll never be able to pull it off. And you know what? I have to call something out really quick. Aaron Bolding wrote IGN's review of WWF RAW, the original game. He gave it a 9.1 out of 10. Now, obviously, reviews and scores are just opinions. That's fine. I think a 9.1 is mentally insane, but hey, just a difference of opinion. What's not a difference of opinion is this. Why did Aaron enlist the help of the game's chief development officer in writing his review of RAW 1? What the hell is this about? You don't go asking Ken Levine for help reviewing BioShock. You're not going to ask Neil Druckmann, hey, what should I be thinking about The Last of Us? This is very odd. It's made much worse by the fact that Aaron's review mentions the Royal Rumble match and arena when there is no Royal Rumble match or Royal Rumble arena in WWF RAW. IGN's WWE RAW 2 review was also written by Aaron Boulding, and he gave it the exact same score, a 9.1 out of 10. As you might imagine, nobody else in the industry liked this game nearly as much as dear old Aaron. In the sales department, RAW 2 moved around 500,000 copies worldwide, which is about the same amount the original RAW sold. The game's developer, Anchor Inc., would never release another game, bringing their short life in the video game scene to a close. In 2 titles exclusive to Microsoft's Xbox, in my opinion, WWE was 0-2. I stated last time out that WWF RAW is not the worst wrestling game I've ever played, and that's true, but that's not saying much. WWE RAW 2 definitely offers more variety, and it's not as difficult to land a strike or grapple move, but that's not really saying much. With Anchor Inc. out of the picture, a new team would step in. In 2005, Studio Gigante, a development team founded by Mortal Kombat co-creator John Tobias, would release WWE WrestleMania 21, the third and final WWE game to launch exclusive for the Xbox. Could the third time be the charm, or were Xbox gamers in for the worst offering yet? We'll find out next time. Across the last 2 episodes of Triangle X Squared Circle, we've gone deep on WWF RAW and its sequel, WWE RAW 2. Neither game is particularly good, with RAW 2 falling far, far short of expectations. As a second entry, it should have righted the wrongs of the original, and while there were many more specialty matches and secondary modes, the gameplay was still terrible. After these 2 failures, developer Anchor Inc. were relieved of their WWE duties, with the keys to the kingdom being handed over to Studio Gigante, a team led by Mortal Kombat co-creator John Tobias. On today's episode of Triangle X Squared Circle, the wrestling game retrospective series, we close out the Xbox Trilogy with the third and final exclusive entry, WWE WrestleMania 21. You thought Raw and Raw 2 were sights to behold? You ain't seen nothing yet. Business is about to pick up. Oh, what's up, Dan-Dans? My name is Ian. Welcome to another episode of Triangle X Squared Circle, the wrestling game retrospective series. You know, today's retrospective is only one of many on the horizon, as the Patreon support project is still underway. We are just a few new signups away from unlocking a retrospective on Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Now, if you want to see this come to fruition, just sign up at any level you choose. How about it? And, I guess that's it. That's all the plugin I got. WrestleMania 21, let's get to it. Studio Gigante are the architects behind today's divine creation. This is the team who brought us Tao Feng, the 3D fighting game that was alright. The team led by John Tobias, co-creator of Mortal Kombat. This is a man who had a hand in creating The Pit, Sub-Zero, Scorpion. He's half of Noob Saibot, for God's sake. Anchor Inc. couldn't do it. Raw and Raw 2 both suck. I'm sorry, the gloves are off now. We've got to call a spade a spade. They lost their WWE privileges. Studio Gigante swooped in to blow the doors off the Xbox and finally give the owners of this console a great WWE game.
1, 2, 3. That's gotta be the match of the year, JR. 4, 5.
It's a piece of fucking shit. God damn it. Look, I've kept my language clean lately, for a long time, really. I protect the F word like it's Roman Reigns. I don't waste it anymore. WrestleMania 21 fucking sucks. I really think this might be the worst WWE game ever made, and that's really saying something with some of the garbage we've covered on this channel. At a glance, you wouldn't think that WrestleMania 21 was the digital equivalent of a stink face. And I'm talking about the Rikishi deal, not one of those Tori Wilson gimmicks that you'd give your right arm to take. The graphics are insane for the time. The lighting is interesting, sometimes a little intense. I don't know why the Judgment Day arena looks like we're competing under purple lights, but it's something. It's a calling card. Everything falls apart after the initial impressions of the game's presentation. And tell me where you've heard that before. Why could none of these Xbox games nail down the gameplay at all? They all suck to play. But forget the moment-to-moment gameplay for a second. Coming into this episode, I didn't even know if I'd be able to play WrestleMania 21. Why? Because Studio Gigante was such a fucking clown show that the game shipped riddled with bugs. And I don't mean a frame skip here or a freeze there, though that does happen quite often. I'm talking about the fact that portions of this game are not even accessible on the disc. WrestleMania 21 had a deep career mode where you'd scratch and claw your way to the top. It could have been interesting to take a look at it. And I don't have that option because the game didn't fucking ship with the working career mode. It's blacked out on the main menu. It's completely inaccessible. This is fucked beyond belief. People who bought this game were eventually able to download a patch that claimed to correct multiple issues, and this patch did indeed unlock the career mode, but the servers are long since shut down. The Platinum Hits version of WrestleMania 21 hit store shelves with the corrective patch applied to the disc itself, which means that if I had gone on eBay and bought another copy of this game under that label, we could look at career mode. But I don't fucking think so. Not a chance. So if you came here today hoping that's what I was going to spend a ton of time on, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not buying another copy of this game. I don't even want this copy. I'd like to throw it in the fucking fire. Buy it again, please. Okay, moment-to-moment gameplay time. Did you see that? The opening seconds of the match, I throw a dick punch from 4 feet away, and the collision detection is so bad that Edge sells it as if it landed. Look at Ric Flair and I crashing through the top of the cell. First of all, slow it down. What the fuck are we doing all the way over here? Second of all, we land and I sit up for some reason. Ric Flair actually gets to his feet before I do, and once he's finally up, I fall asleep.
Close, but no cigar.
In a cage match, there's no minigame to escape. There's no meter, no timing deal. You just get to the top and then slow motion. You move like you're trying to sneak over the top of the cage and not make a sound like the opponent is taking a nap and you don't want to wake them up. In a ladder match, we've got one of these situations where you've got to hang from the belt in order to get it down. If the other guy gets up there first, you can't just grab his feet and yank him like in SmackDown or AEW Fight Forever or literally any other good wrestling game ever made. No. You've got to climb to the top of the ladder just to throw a punch to knock him down. Figuring out how to break tables was like solving a puzzle. The buttons to pick up and set down the table simply don't work sometimes. I'm not kidding. It's the damnedest thing you'll ever experience. But once I set the table up, I tried slamming through it. No dice.
Star shows even the slightest hint of weakness. He's lost the match.
The choke slam all the way from hell.
Eventually, by pure chance, I realized that if you grapple an opponent near a table, sometimes, and I stress sometimes, you'll automatically drape your opponent across the table. In my hours and hours of gameplay, it seems to me that a pile driver is the only move in the game that can break a table. And speaking of breaking, where does the table go? It disappears immediately upon impact. It's like we broke the goddamn thing into such small wreckage that it completely disintegrated. But that's not the only breaking we've got on our plate. This game barely runs. Barely runs.
I don't think he can break the hold, Cole. I think he's gonna tap. An incredible finish to an incredible match.
This is real hardware. This is a real Xbox with a real WrestleMania 21 disc. This is not a wonky emulator or a Fugazi recreation. This is legit, but that's nothing. My Eddie Guerrero versus Edge match, I literally thought this Xbox was about to burst into flames. Look, I took a video on my phone because I could not believe what I was hearing. I borrowed this Xbox from a Dan named Kiko Olvera. I thought I was going to have to buy him a new one. All this for the match to eventually load up and for this to happen.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. Hey, Taz, what's your prediction for this match? Soda.
4, 5.
Not to be outdone, Kane and Shelton Benjamin put on a show of their own.
He's stalking his opponent from the top turnbuckle.
There's commentary from Michael Cole and Taz, as well as Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. Sometimes, in certain matches, they're just not here. I have no explanation for where they are, but it's silence in the booth. You want to hear something really bizarre, though? Listen closely to Michael Cole and Taz here.
Besides the win, what's on the line for these superstars in this match?
One word, Cole, pride. Pride. There's a lot of pride on the line in this one. No one wants to be second best.
Man, when it comes to that 5-star frog splash, no one gets as high as Rob Van Dam.
Who the fuck was that? Who said that?
Man, when it comes to that 5-star frog splash, no one gets as high as Rob Van Dam.
That's not Taz, and it's not Michael Cole. Who the fuck said that? We're never gonna get to the bottom of this. There's no way to know. Somebody put this out there as like a video game conspiracy or something. I don't know. What do we do now? Game sucks. We've covered that. You know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to try and find some positives when it comes to WWE WrestleMania 21. Let's do it. One of the main bragging points for WrestleMania 21 was the Pro Reversal system, where instead of the same animation playing for every move that gets blocked, every individual move would come with its own reversal animation. We're talking hundreds of different reversal animations. Now, does it work well? Not really, but it's a good idea. And that's a positive. This sort of timing-based, move-specific reversal system was eventually done well in TNA Impact and WWE All-Stars. Let's talk blood. The juice is loose here in WrestleMania 21, and holy jeez does the red fly. Look at this. I feel like I'm watching Rocky. I feel like I'm playing Mortal Kombat. Hey John Tobias, this was your doing, wasn't it? Honestly, I like seeing the blood in Ric Flair's hair. He was famous for turning his white blonde hair totally red, and there's a bit of staining happening here. Am I reaching for positives? Yeah, but I told you, I'm trying my best. We've got to create a belt feature, which I always appreciate. There's only one strap option, and most of the plates are bizarre amalgamations of pay-per-view logos and mismatched colors, but what the hell? Create a belt. How about it? Physics are always important in fighting and wrestling games, and WrestleMania 21's physics are astounding. Specifically on the female characters. Jesus Christ, this is probably the best part of the game. Do you hate smooth transitions between celebration animations and the rematch menu? You're in luck. Check out how abrupt this is. Are you sickened by action that runs at a perfect 60 frames per second? Hey, WrestleMania 21's multi-man matches are for you. This frame rate is single digits for all you Rough Riders out there. Tired of your shirt? Watch it betray its own existence before your very eyes. I told you I could find positive aspects of this game. Look, come on. Who do you think you're dealing with here? The fact of the matter, though, all jokes aside, is this. WrestleMania 21 is the worst WWE game I have ever played, bar none, no contest. There might be games out there that you don't like WWF Warzone. Don't even try and compare them. WWE Crush Hour, is that a good game? No. But at least it's fun. WrestleMania 21 hardly functions. I don't even feel comfortable calling it fully operational because it's not. I can't even access the fucking career mode. God. We gotta wrap this up. WWF RAW was a letdown, even for a first attempt. WWE RAW 2 really sucked because, as a sequel, it should have benefited from the team's experience. There were more features, sure, but the core gameplay was still atrocious. WrestleMania 21, the last gasp, the final hope of wrestling fans with Xboxes, bursted into the living room and took a shit right on the fucking floor. This is the end of the Xbox trilogy, and the end of WWE on Xbox. Luckily for fans of the Green Gaming brand, all of this console-exclusive nonsense would be cast aside going forward, allowing Xbox 360 owners to inherit the SmackDown vs. Raw franchise. As a lifelong PlayStation guy myself, I say now to my Xbox brethren, I'm sorry you had to go through this. The Xbox trilogy is worse than being a WCW kid with a PS1, because even if World Tour and Revenge were exclusively on N64, I could just flick the WWF switch and play SmackDown and SmackDown 2. You guys had nothing. Bupkis. Nada. And that's not fair. As a PlayStation guy, I'm glad our SmackDown series made its way over to you. There's no reason we all can't have nice things. Where are the tops of the announce tables? How can those be missing? In what world does... I can't. It's over. The Xbox trilogy is over. WWE WrestleMania 21 reviewed like shit. Everyone with a brain in their head hated it. The game sold worse than Raw and Raw 2, meaning that, luckily, the consumer base learned something from those prior titles. Sure, it was another developer. I don't care. It is what it is. This chapter is closed. Oh, there it is. That's my Triangle X Squared Circle retrospective on WWE WrestleMania 21. Dandads, if you liked this video and you want to see more like it, please consider supporting me over on patreon.com/616entertainment. I'm a one-man crew. I do all of this myself. And supporting the channel financially does not come without rewards. The Patreon support project is put in place to show that every single supporter that comes through is going to lead to further work, bigger retrospectives, and harder-hitting videos, which I think you'll all be a fan of. Thank you very much for watching. I love ya, and I'll see you next time.